for you. Throughout recording the first season of my Career Change Champions podcast, I spoke to a number of different people from different industries, different jobs, men and women. So today I'm going to share with you a little compilation video of some of the advice that they had to share with others that are considering or navigating career change.
I think back on that and I'm like, why? Why was I so ashamed to tell people that I was on a mental health leave? Because I was taking care of myself. And I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are in that same situation where they know they need that time, but they're afraid to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So having that time to look back on that and realize how vital that was for me, I think if you're in that position, take that time, because it's so important. And then reflect, right? Like I took that time, I reflected on my job, I decided what I was okay with, what I was not okay with. And I think for some people, if they're able to take that time off and they get back into their career, I think they can still have a long career. It's just setting boundaries when they get back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it necessarily means, you're burnt out, time for a career switch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think taking that time to really reflect on what got you to that burnout. Is there something that you can change to prevent that in the future? Or maybe it's either getting a new job in the same field or totally switching gears.
All the other jobs and roles I had, this was always what I did. When I was not very happy and entirely happy with the situation, I would try to tweak it where I was, like not necessarily immediately jumping out of the employment and finding something else or finding another job. I would really try to match my expectations and my needs in the job I already had. Yeah. Unfortunately, in my environment, it was not possible because people are very rigid and boxed up in what they think you should be doing. There is very little flexibility to a certain extent, but the extent was not enough for me to fulfill me.
I use this analogy all the time that Tyra Banks used. I don't know if it was on Top Model or her talk show, but she was talking about how when you go to a buffet, you don't go up the first time and just stack your plate with all the stuff or whatever. You go up there and you kind of just take small samples from each of the things you think you like, go back to your table and eat. And the stuff that you really liked on that first round, that's when you go back and start piling on. I think it's important to do that in your career. When you make your decisions for what you're going to major in, if you go to college, if you make your decision then on what you're going to major in, who's to say the decision you made when you were 17 or 18 is going to be what you want to do for the rest of your professional career? It's important to try new things. So while I'm working now in a full-time job, it's important to me that I'm still tapping into that travel bug that I have and writing, podcasting and speaking engagements and stuff like that, just to figure out, am I scratching the itch that I have? Am I 100% tapped into what I really want to be doing or what I'm passionate about? And then go from there. While you're spreading your wings and doing all these different things, you're building experience in those fields. So it's great to put on your resume. You're going to be able to speak to that when you're interviewing for jobs. You're not going to go into these jobs cold, with a cold start. You'll have some kind of footing under you because you've tried it before.
I actually heard you talk about your why, because it sounds like it was your own pain that drove you to want to understand pain better. And then once you started your, I would call it love for boxing, right? Like on the side, so to speak, you started to uncover your own experiences with fear. And that's when fear came into it, and the emotion and the mindset things of the picture. So it sounds like every step of the way you were very mindful of your own experiences, and you let that lead you into the next path of things. Is that right?
I'd say that's pretty fair. I actually like how you put it.
Once I realized that I didn't want to teach anymore, I said, oh crap, what am I going to do? And selling my photography was an option, but it's a starving artist thing. Unless you like are randomly viral, you don't make a lot of money off of selling photography. So I was like, okay, well, how do I take these two passions and put them together? I think if anyone ever wants to pivot, you just slowly pivot. So I went from teaching science to selling artwork, and then knowing that, yes, I'm a good photographer, so what can I do next? So I can help businesses, so I'm taking their pictures, and then, oh, I'm really good at talking to people, so I could do the marketing aspect. So just constantly pivoting within my own business.
I was angry all the time. I was resentful. Maybe resentful is a better way to say it. You know what? I was angry. And I didn't like the way I was coming home. I didn't like the way that was spilling over onto my kids. Just in terms of me, maybe not being as patient with them as I could be and not being present with them. And so I almost feel like it was almost like a move of desperation in some ways to get out. But the real reason I left was to move towards what I wanted. It wasn't I want to be really clear. The real motivator was I was so excited about what I was doing that I wanted to do this all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think the way I got there was that push of like, this is not working anymore. Something has to change.
We evolve as humans. So the career path that we choose for ourselves may not be the one that we stick with. So, particularly when I work with my coaching clients, what I love to do is teaching them how to understand, how to identify the thing that you want to do that's going to make you fulfilled, not just because it pays well or because you think it's the cool thing to do these days, but really to identify what it is that they want to be doing and be able to have those skills for a lifetime, because you're going to change and your passions and your strengths are going to evolve. And just what you want to do in your life is going to evolve, but always having those skills to understand, what it is that you can move into next based on your journey to date, I think is a key skill to have, because when that comes up, to your point about like, oh, I don't want to teach, but shoot, what do I want to do? That can be a little nerve-wracking, but if you know how to figure it out and you have those tools, like I said, it becomes a little less daunting and you think, listen, I've done this before. I know how to figure it out and I can do it again.
And so I think that it's important for people to, again, look at life through a very focused lens and see where those parallels happen. If you're always the dope one dressed at work and you want to be a stylist or a fashion influencer, then start cataloging your outfit of the day every day. You know what I mean? It's these little things that we see people making millions being influencers or whatever they're doing. And we think oh, I want to get to that one day. Well, they didn't start there. Right. I started with one follower. The one follower was me. It really was. And so I just, I encourage people just do it, and see what happens. You don't have to leave one to do the other, but if you got an idea and you pursue it, even if it takes you a long time and baby steps, don't let any dream or idea just rest in the back of your head. Go. Right. Constantly.